Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry. Joining me today, I have Terry, and I've got Max in what looks like he's being seen with a long lens, but it's really just a very blurry room. That's all it is. It's a new design aesthetic, and of course, trust Max to have the newest and brightest innovation in design aesthetics. Very cool. So, gentlemen, we're starting this with. See, Max is kind of difficult to suppress the smile. Terry, just his soul is smiling. It's a good day because of what happened on Saturday. It's a bummer we all couldn't be there. You know what I mean? But hey, we see those clips of Big Dunk running the sideline, snatching up ball boys like they're small parcels. It's just crazy. So who wants to start here? Let's dig into selection and formation. Actually, I'm gonna let Max start just because he looks like he's been itching to talk about this for a while. So Max, basic thoughts when you saw the selection and formation. How are you feeling? And then we'll go from there, and then we'll get Terry to sink his teeth in as well.
How was I feeling? Nervous. I can't hide it. And I think those in the group chat probably could tell by what I was saying. I cannot suppress my disappointment at not being able to make the game. It feels like I've done something morally wrong when I failed to make a home game. So the fact that I wasn't able to make it in what seemed to be an unforgettable afternoon at Goodison Park, it really gets me down. But in retrospect, what a win, and my God, didn't we need it. I was just saying, Gerry, the formation, it was great. It was fantastic to see the 4-4-2 come out after so long of condemning the 4-2-3-1, mixing it up, playing the 5 back, which didn't necessarily work too well, particularly against Liverpool. But you can almost envisage what those team talks were like, can't you? Really, we're playing 4-4-2 and run your socks off, because by God, they did not run. I haven't looked at the ground covered statistics, but I put my money on Everton players being in the top 5 or whatever. But yeah, absolutely brilliant team performance, and it was really nice to see some of the lads who were often criticised, Walcott, Schneiderlin, Sigurdsson, putting that extra yard in and being exceptionally tidy with the performances. I think something that Duncan outlined from his initial press conferences is that we just need to get the fundamentals correct, which we certainly did after that defeat from the Merseyside derby. It was really great to see, covering ground, working hard. One concern I've got following the game is possibly the fitness levels of the lads, because you could see how many injuries that were rearing their heads towards the end of the game. Mason Holgate, Luca Dean, which I've had this concern for several years, really, in terms of certainly the top 6 sides in the league. The athleticism just seems to be a world apart, and in terms of our individual player profiles, we might not necessarily have the best athletes. But that being said, if Duncan clearly has the motivational skills to get that extra yard out of them, whether that will continue in the games to come remains to be seen. But it's fantastic to see positive narratives coming out of the club from not just the club themselves, but from the media surrounding the club, isn't it?
Yeah, because everything coming out, or 99% of what was coming out of that particular match was positive for Everton. Terry, we had talked I guess last Thursday about the possibility of switching to 4-4-2 for the simplicity's sake. the idea of basics. Going back and having people have simple roles, do your job, know your role, and shut your mouth. It's a little bit of that. It wasn't completely baffling that he switched to 4-4-2. Do you feel like the formation had much to do with it, or was it more just what Max was talking about, that straight up motivation, getting a boot up the ass? And I imagine Big Dunk will get you fired up, yeah?
Yeah, I think the formation probably did play some part in it, because it's hard to hide in a 4-4-2. You can't be. It's hard to be a passenger, because it's very stripped back, and every supporter can see what your job is in a 4-4-2. Whereas in these sort of 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, you can have sort of specific roles for midfielders and the thing where which allows them to sort of drift in and out. Whereas 4-4-2, the two midfielders and central midfield just need to battle. And credit to Sigurdsson and Schneiderlin, they've come in for a lot of stick this season, and rightly so. But the two of them worked their asses off. Sigurdsson especially, I haven't seen him put that much of a shift in for a long time, because he was just battling for every single ball in the middle. And I think the playing a little bit deeper suited them as well, just because of the personnel that were available, the slower players and what have you. But it was just a massive difference, wasn't it? In terms of effort and energy. You saw straight in the kickoff, because Iwobi charging down the Chelsea, players, Chelsea fullback, and it was just like that all game. It was just sort of described as a throwback performance to old school Everton, sort of, turn of the century, where, the quality might not be there, and in this case it's due to injury, but the quality might not be there to compete with the opposition team, but the sort of desire and fight and energy and, willingness is what was the leveller. And what was definitely a throwback to, a few years ago was the role Goodison played. Goodison, when it's at its best like that, can win games for the team. It sucks the ball in the net and intimidate the opposition team. And I think we saw the best of Goodison. I think Goodison was up for it as much as the players were.
Yeah, it was one of those moments, unlike so many others that I've had this season watching the game with my kids, where the energy in the room, me and my kids watching that game, and we were just watching. You know what I mean? Me and the kids just watching in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and they were jumping on couches. It was nuts. It was really, really fun to watch. I cannot imagine the atmosphere actually at Goodison. How just it seems like it would have been almost sacred. The sharing of the experience between everybody. I cannot imagine it. It sounded phenomenal. Yeah. And that was for Roberto, by the way. The phenomenal there.
just to comment on that, on what Terry said, it certainly seemed to intimidate opposition players in fair measure too. Particularly the younger players of the Chelsea side. For me, I think we were a bit too close for comfort, particularly towards the end of the first half. I think Chelsea started finding the way a little bit, but in terms of the defensive players, I'm talking Reece James, I'm talking in particular Kurt Zouma, who made the mistake for Calvert-Lewin second. The atmosphere certainly played its part, and it just goes to show, when the Boo Boys aren't out in force, and when you actually get behind the 11 players on the pitch. And of course, that is, it's a reciprocal.
Fuels each other.
It's a reciprocal thing. If you see the effort on that pitch, you're going to get an equal measure. Manchester United up on the weekend, and I know it's away from home, but fingers crossed we can kind of carry that energy over.
It's like almost a wave. This wave of energy and intensity. It was just almost overwhelming watching that. And you're right. I feel like they did kind of claw back later on in the first half, where it looked like maybe they were gonna get one or two. It was a game in which Pulisic seemed very ineffective just didn't really seem like himself. And I feel like you can say that about several of the players. I thought Kovacic is just the more he's played this season, he's just looking like a quality player, by the way. I mean, his goal, the fact that but he doesn't even normally bring a lot of goals. The fact that he's had 2 in like a week is crazy.
Yeah, he scored against Valencia for his first goal in the week.
It looked almost the same.
Of course, his first ever Premier League goal would be against Everton Football Club, but I don't think his quality's ever been in doubt from Real Madrid to Inter Milan before that. He's an absolutely sensational player.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, you alluded to earlier, Calvert-Lewin had a brace, Richarlison had 1. But Terry, let's go back to you on this. Who do you feel like? I mean, I realize we had multiple players playing well. Who are you pointing to and saying that guy's my key?
Oh, there was a lot, wasn't there? Like you said, I'll stay away from the 2 that you said and go with Sidibe. He was awful against Liverpool, and there's been times this season where I've thought he's great and times where I've thought he's terrible. But this was one of his better games. He was getting the better of was it Pulisic down Chelsea's left? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Getting the better of him by quite a lot, and I'm a bit in 2 minds about Sidibe in general, just because I feel like he's fantastic going forward. Like his forward play is amazing. Always picks really good passes. He's just like a completely different option on the ball to Seamus Coleman, but he's a bit suspect defensively. I've even thought at times he could be even worse than Martina defensively in some of his bad performances. But against Chelsea, he was outstanding. If it hadn't been for the 2 goals that Calvert-Lewin got, he would have been man of the match, I think, because he just put in a really, really top performance. And I mean, the derby wasn't entirely down to him. I think the reason he was taken off, I think the formation was just a mess and it didn't help him. But even the part he did play in, his performance that day, I think he's made up for it in the following game, which is all you can ask really when a player has a bad game.
With Sidibe, has he struggled defensively? See, when I see him struggling defensively, it's less when he is already back. It's more like the fact that he gets caught out.
He's naive.
Often.
He's naive. He plays very
yes.
ridiculously high up the pitch, which you can tell opposition managers have cottoned onto, and they're starting to take advantage of it. So they're playing the ball into that left channel when Sidibe's been attacking, and he's literally near the opposition corner flag sometimes. And the left midfielder of the opposition immediately gets the ball. So he presses really high. And if he doesn't make that tackle on the press, then it's a completely exposed right-hand side. But he was a lot more disciplined in the 4-4-2, which was probably down to Duncan tactically saying, listen, you cannot press that high in this formation. We haven't got the extra midfielder to come in for you now. And it seemed to sink in because he was much, much better.
Yeah, I noticed, I've been doing a decent amount of coaching lately, and I work with this Peruvian coach. He's a really, really nice guy. But he keeps things very simple. He simplifies the game for kids. He gives them very simple, very basic ways of playing. And he keeps it very... And so the kids know their roles. They're not sitting there with 8 different things on their mind. It's very simple. Right here, I receive the ball and I'm looking to find the gap where I take the space. You know what I mean? It's very simplified. I feel like that's... If you simplify that, I feel like that's a big part of what has happened. Sidibe... 4-4-2, it's very much just like, here's your role, man. Here's your role. You've been doing it for a long time. People have been doing 4-4-2. Gosh, it's almost like people don't do it anymore because it became so cliche and not as creative or inventive. But I think it's a good idea to go back when it's almost like you're forgetting, you're focusing on too many things and you're not seeing the forest for the trees. Whatever the hell that means. So yeah, Max, as far as for you, your guy, your key to this, you got to point it on one player, and it's okay if you put it on Calvert-Lewin for getting 2, or Richarlison, he got 1 and played a solid game. Who's your guy where you're like, that's the one?
Yeah, you got Calvert-Lewin getting a brace for the first time in Premier League career. You've got Richarlison scoring 3 on the bounce for the first time in the Premier League. Something we were talking about before starting recording is Everton recorded more tackles than any other Everton side this decade. what was it, Terry? 34?
37, I think it was.
37. I'm underselling them there. 30,
I remember it easily,
Yeah.
Terry. You know why?
37 tackles, and for me, none better than Mason Holgate or Mason Mount in the second half, where he just.
Oh my God, that was
flattered them.
great.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me to cherry pick one of the lads, I'd go for Mason Holgate. It was a mature performance from the back, and
I did not expect that. That's a good call. Very cool.
His upturn in form.
I wanted to mention Holgate as an honourable mention, so I made up. You said it. Like, I thought you were.
Yeah, man. Nah, Mason Holgate, without a shadow of a doubt, deserves a huge pat on the back for that performance. Because, as I was saying, just I think recently with the responsibility that's been bestowed upon him, we're just really seeing the best of him. Not getting caught out on the ball. Got rid of he's rinsing his game of mistakes. You can count several times where he just no nonsense, get rid, put the ball into the crowd, just sensible defending, which we have lacked over the years. But yeah, if you're asking me to cherry pick, other than the lads that obviously made an impact on the scoreline, Mason Holgate, my guy.
And you know what? Just to be contrarian, only slightly, because this guy's already been mentioned. A player who I think role was much more simplified, and because of this, I'm saying this one for Max because he's like fanboy. All right.
Oh, it's coming.
Schneiderlin. I'm doing it. I think he earned it. I think he played a great game. You made things simple for him. Like, hey, shield the defense, man. Done. He did it. You make it very simple, and he handles it. So I don't know if this is going to be the way going forward, but it's a heck of a way to turn around fortunes and to get the players focused on the game. Get the players focused on the game and the basics and how simple the game can be. They're all professionals.
Can I raise this question? I don't know if it's already been asked, so forgive me. Do you feel like if Marco Silva would have been relieved of his duties before the Merseyside derby and we would put Duncan in charge from the Merseyside derby, we would see a similar effect?
Yes, I
agree.
Whether it would have changed the overall result is another matter, because obviously Liverpool are a really strong team. They're better than Chelsea, and we would at Anfield, we were at Goodison, but it would have been a much different game, and we would have had a much better showing. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. Like I wrote down here. My question was, what was this about? Tactics or grit and heart? And that's the problem. It's about both. Whatever. That's true, I guess. But if you have to pin it on one, I feel like a big chunk of this is I don't know. The more I think about tactics, the fact that they simplified things so much. But look at the genuine passion shown. It's hard to say it's not more about that. Because we just had not had much of that. So yeah. I agree. That game, that Merseyside derby would have been different. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference. That is right now they are the strongest team in the league. But I do think a little more grit, a little less distraction. I do think our guys would have put in a better performance. I gotta agree with Terry on that.
Well, the biggest problem I felt in the derby was the tactical setup. It just didn't work in the first half, and yeah, they were still very good, Liverpool, but when we changed tactical setup, it levelled it out a lot more. We weren't as disastrous once that changed. So if we'd have started from the beginning with a 4-4-2 and that level of commitment, it may have changed things. But we'll never know. That's also a big throwback for Everton to have a big performance after a derby defeat. We used to do that every single time, and it was frustrating. We've done this last week, and it's just the way we are. We lose a derby and then go and turn someone over, like historically, and oh well, let's never change Everton.
I would to bring it on the same question. The only question that I would have is how strong we would have been in the midfield, because we have that additional striker up top. So we know Schneiderlin would have been pulled farther back. kind of shielding the defense, and then you've basically got Sigurdsson covering up the rest of the gap. And when you're playing 4-3-3, you've got 3 guys who would sort of overwhelm at that moment. So as long as we're shielding those, those through balls that they like to do when they hit the channels like that.
True, but I'm just having visions of those long balls splitting the centre halves and giving Origi or
oh god, yeah.
Is,
I know. Yeah.
With the goalkeeper, but that's dead and buried.
But that's sort of, they did that with the 4-4-2 for the 4-2-3-1 as well, though. When we went to 4 in the back.
It's dead and buried.
God,
now.
You know what? You're thinking the same thing. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
it's making me nauseous.
It's still December. We still got more than enough big games to build on the big form. So keep it going.
Yeah. It put me in a good mood the rest of the day. Good mood the rest of the weekend. Yeah. Still in a good mood. Still.
Just one more honourable mention while we were touching on players. Another player who gets criticised quite a lot. But did you see the run that Walcott made for the first goal?
Yeah.
Watch it back, and when the Richarlison goal, Sidibe crosses it in. Watching the build-up, the run that Walcott goes on, he takes Azpilicueta on holiday. He absolutely just takes him out of the game by running to the middle, and Azpilicueta follows him and just gives Sidibe the whole wing to himself. It's really clever play from an experienced player, and I just wanted to get that in because I watched it again and thought that's brilliant. He's made the space for that assist.
Yeah, Terry, I think you were the one who made the call that Walcott would probably start. I'm pretty certain that was you. Or a guy that looks exactly like you.
The right-hand side with Sidibe, it seems to have worked so far. So Walcott and Sidibe, Walcott's worked really hard, and he still hasn't put a tackle in yet, but that'll come. But he's working really hard, and I think the only alternative is to play Richarlison there, and you're just losing that goal.
Yeah.
If you put him out wide again, so you'd rather have him up front. So it's a no-brainer. Walcott on the right and Richarlison up top.
Yeah. So, anything else on this? I mean, it's kind of great. I don't think many people foresaw us getting 3 points on this. Some foolish American on this show picked it. I don't know who that was. Anyway, sorry, I never get them right, so it's just I have to say it. I was kind of excited.
I did think that. I thought that you'd open the show with that.
No, man. No, I'm usually a little embarrassed to mention it. I'm like, oh, I got something right. Please notice me, So yeah, but anyway, it's good vibes, and you know what? Max is right. We damn well needed it. We needed it. It was. There was not. Everton Twitter was not a pleasant place. It was like walking into Mordor. It's bad.
Still a long way to go, but it's just stopped the rot. It's the first positive result.
Agreed.
Something to hopefully build upon and work with going forward, because the 2 hardest games of the season are probably gone now, and they were in quick succession, away at Leicester and away at Liverpool, and we didn't even do that badly against Leicester, so it's not as bad as people think, hopefully.
Right. Yeah, and I, to be fair to Chelsea in this one too, not an easy scenario to come into Goodison with Duncan Ferguson as manager and actually get the Everton supporters kind of back to where they normally are, and getting Goodison back to where it should be. It's not an easy scenario to go in there and actually be up for the intensity, because it was an intense showing. If Chelsea would have been able to stand up to that, mad respect. You know what I mean? But they didn't.
What Goodison's capable of, it
still really good.
Used to regularly be the difference maker. It used to close the gap between Everton and teams that were better than Everton. Goodison used to change used to sort of bridge the gap. The difference it would make was unbelievable.
Yeah, particularly in the Moyes era.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, it makes me angry when other clubs kind of act like they bring the same passion to their crowd. That's what I'll say.
When they really bring iPads.
All right. So that's it for our Chelsea extra time. Everton getting the win, 3-1. Spoiler alert, if you didn't figure that out by now. So we're going to move on. Next segment, we're going to talk about Duncan Ferguson, about what if he gets a few more games? What if he gets a lot more games? What if he's given just the job? So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I think a lot of that is going to be sustaining the emotional factor. So we'll get into that in a little while. That'll be our next video. But for now, if you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. If you want more Terry, check out his Twitter. He'll tell you when and where he's going to be, like the Liverpool Echo Grand Jury, or on the streets waiting for your hugs. Now's a great time to hug Terry. It's the holidays. Everton's playing well. I guarantee you it'll be sincere. Okay? So, there's that. Beard tickle. So, then we've got Max. Max's venture has launched.
Yeah.
So, right now, I'm gonna let Max plug it really quick. You need to go over there. You need to like the Twitter page. And you need to start listening to some of Max's work there in his interviews. So, Max, go ahead and plug away.
Carlisle podcast, we finally got there. It took its time, but we've launched. As I was saying, I'm very excited for the ride. Really, it's I've got full creative control over it, and I can, I've got some really good potential guests lined up, and just keep your eyes out.
Where did you get the idea for this podcast? The name of it. The name of it. Where's this?
The name.
Where's this title come from? It's like Belinda Carlisle, right?
The name and the font. If you look at the logo font, it's from the Carlisle Hotel and Scarface, which is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
If you didn't know.
If you don't know, now you know. Yeah. Good stuff, man. That's great. I remember you put that in our little message group and everything, and I my inner film geek was laughing. Very cool. So everybody, check that out. It's a moral imperative. All right, everybody else out there, much love to you. Everton with 3 points. Be happy in pants. And let's talk about Duncan in just a minute. Thanks. Bye. Wow, hit that lens square. Just. That was a good one. That was a good one.